Okay, well, here we are. Good evening, everyone. Wow. I can't believe all the faces that are here. This is amazing for us. Collaboration, we quickly put something like this together. All of you that are back there, come on up. We won't bite. Welcome. My name is Mary Melick, and I am the Executive Director of the United Way of Hastings. And 4 months ago, we had a local mom reach out to us, and she was asking for help. We met with Bridget Noring, and we listened. She told us about the loss of her son, Devin. Last year, Devin lost his life. He was 19 years old. Bridget opened our eyes to fentanyl poisoning and overdoses and what's occurring right here in Hastings. She told us about her promise to her son to raise awareness so that this doesn't happen to another family. The Noring family does not want any of us to have to go through the suffering that they have with the loss of their son. So from the United Way of Hastings perspective, we're a very small nonprofit, but as we listened to Bridget, we just knew that we needed to help. So our role is to build awareness. Bridget and others are educating me and my partner, Jane Newmiller Boosted, every day. Law enforcement, they're educating us. We also want to reduce the stigma. We want to talk about overdoses. We want to talk about fentanyl poisoning. We want to make it okay for families to be able to talk about this. And lastly, we want to provide resources. As a small nonprofit, we may not be able to provide direct services, but we can partner up with so many groups in the community that can help others. So that's where we stand. Tonight, we are super thankful for our partners that are collaborating with us to help put this mini event on. We'll have a couple of families share their experiences. We'll also have some law enforcement give you their perspective and what's actually occurring in Hastings and in Dakota County. We have the mayor here. The City of Hastings officials are here to speak. And we have a couple legislators that have asked to say a few words. Then, through the work of the Confluence Development, that group will light up the cupolas across the street, and they'll light them up in purple. Purple signifies International Overdose Awareness Day, which actually occurs tomorrow, August 31st. So first, I would like to introduce Hastings Mayor Mary Fassbender. She will be presenting Devin's family with a proclamation declaring August 31st, 2021 as International Overdose Awareness Day in Hastings. Mayor Fassbender.
Thank you, Mary. As Mary stated, I am Mary Fassbender, the mayor of the City of Hastings. In 2020, 93,000 Americans died of opioid overdoses and poisonings. Several of them were from Hastings. They left behind family, friends, and co-workers who still are grieving. Tonight I am both honored and saddened to present this proclamation to Bridget, Tom, Haley, and Caden. We're remembering Devin, but also others that have lost their lives to overdoses in our community of Hastings. Tonight we are issuing a proclamation to the family of Devin Naring. Whereas the City of Hastings will recognize International Overdose Awareness Day, IOAD, on August 31st, 2021, to raise awareness of drug overdoses and poisonings, especially involving opioids, and reduce the stigma of drug-related deaths, and thereby bring awareness to the problem of opioid addiction. And whereas overdoses can occur in people who have an addiction to substances as well as those who do not, such as someone accidentally overdosing on prescription opioids after a surgery or an injury, an elderly person consuming too much of prescribed pain reliever, a teenager experimenting with illegal or street drugs for the first time, or a child ingesting opioid pills or powders from a home medicine cabinet or the storage location. And whereas in many communities throughout the country, the national opioid epidemic poses a significant threat to public health and safety in Hastings. Overdoses and poisonings related to opioids are affecting more family members, neighbors, and friends than ever before. City staff such as police, fire, and EMTs, and community partners like the United Way of Hastings, businesses, health organizations, and faith communities are working together to address this growing crisis. And whereas opioids are a class of highly addictive drugs used to reduce pain and includes prescription opioids like oxycodone and hydrocodone, as well as illegal opioids like fentanyl, carfentanil, and heroin. And therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Mary Fassbender of the City of Hastings, do hereby declare August 31st, 2021 International Opioid Awareness Day in Hastings.
Thank you, Mayor. Next beside me is that local mom that reached out to me a couple months ago, Bridget Naring. Bridget is here with her husband, Tom, daughter, Haley, and son, Caden. Bridget.
My family would like to thank Mayor Fassbender for issuing the first ever proclamation in Hastings proclaiming August 31st International Overdose Awareness Day. Okay. My family humbly accepts this proclamation on behalf of Devin, Natalia, Tyler, all the beautiful souls lost, their families, friends, and coworkers who are still grieving the loss of these dear people in our community. So I'm Bridget Naring. I'm a mom here in Hastings. My husband Tom is out there with Haley and my son Caden. On April 4th, 2020, our son Devin and his friend bought a pill they thought was a Percocet off of Snapchat. Unbeknownst to them, it was pure fentanyl. A pill the size of an aspirin had enough pure fentanyl in it to kill almost 10 adults. The individual that Devin was with that night for whatever reason, chose not to call for help or alert anybody that Devin was in trouble. And it was my youngest son, Caden, that would find Devin the next morning. But Devin isn't the only one here in Hastings to die from fentanyl poisoning. We lost Natalia Erickman and Tyler Kavitz, both 19, both like Devin. They had their entire lives in front of them and had so much left to give back to this world. So to tell you a little bit about all three of them, Devin loved music. He had dreams of leaving that summer to go to California to pursue his music career while enrolling back in school. He loved his sister and brother very much, and anything he put his mind to, he gave 150% of himself. He loved his job at Factory Motor Parts, where it gave him and his dad time to bond while carpooling, and he was a mama's boy. So I had the pleasure over the years of meeting both Tyler and Natalia. It's a small town, everybody knows everybody. And recently I connected with Tyler's mom on social media, and she told me that Tyler loved video games. He would take his PlayStation with him wherever he went. He loved fishing, camping, and I can tell just from talking to her, he was also a mama's boy. And I know from speaking with his family and friends and coworkers, they all say he's the sweetest young man you'd ever meet. Natalia, she had a smile that could light up the room. She loved her sisters and brother and was very protective of them. She was an amazing friend to many, and I can tell you she gave some of the best hugs ever. All three of them had the most amazing sense of humor, and their laughter, along with everything else that made them who they were, is sorely missed beyond all measure by all of us left behind. But again, they're sadly and tragically not the only ones here in Hastings or Dakota County to have lost their lives. There are many more families like ours that share the same tragic story. So people have told me that because Devin and the others bought an illegal drug, Devin made a choice, and therefore he is responsible for the consequences of his choice. These people apparently believe my son and the others like him somehow deserve to die. Tom and I certainly don't condone Devin seeking out a pain pill online after his appointments were canceled due to the lockdown. But to say my son made a choice is completely wrong. Devin didn't choose to take fentanyl. I know Natalia didn't choose to take fentanyl, and I can guarantee Tyler didn't choose to take fentanyl either. Neither did thousands around the world like them. That choice was made without their knowledge by alleged drug dealers still walking free in our communities, preying upon people like them, first-time users and those with substance use disorders alike. These are not overdoses. To overdose would mean that they knew what they were taking and how much they were taking, and I know none of them would have taken a pill that would lead to an instant death. The stigma around substance use and even mental health disorders makes the situation worse, and when you feel shame for your substance use or mental health, it makes it that much harder to ask for help or seek treatment. Shame paints them into a corner and leads them to believe there's no hope or chance at recovery. And people can recover with the proper resources and support to go on to lead happy, healthy, productive lives, even if they have to go through treatment a couple times. Support, encouragement, and accountability will help the person in recovery far more than shame or stigma. So tonight I really want to thank Mary and Jane and the United Way of Hastings for standing beside my family and helping get the message out there. And I humbly ask that moving forward, Mayor Fassbender, Chief Shafer, Sheriff Leslie, and the Dakota County DTF come together and continuing to get the message out there to our community. Because we as parents cannot have potentially life-saving conversations with our children and loved ones if we don't know there's anything wrong in our community. And we definitely need more resources for those struggling with substance use disorders and mental health here in Hastings. I want to personally thank our Minnesota State Representatives, Tony Jurgens, Senator Carla Bigham, Congressional Candidate Tyler Kistner, and Congresswoman Angie Craig for coming out and supporting our families and really hearing our voices and what's been happening. My family and the other families ask that when you go back into session, you take our stories with you and you meet in the middle and try to find a way to end the fentanyl crisis that is happening here in our country, not just here in Minnesota. Our community asks that the judges and prosecutors begin holding these alleged criminals accountable and hold them to the highest extent of the law. No amount of justice will ever bring back my son, Tyler, or Natalia, or the countless others, but to allow these individuals back into our communities after law enforcement has diligently done their part is not acceptable. You must begin to set the bar so high that they wouldn't even dare attempt to come here with their poisonous drugs. To the parents, I ask that you please talk to your children and the young adults in your life. Learn the signs of a drug overdose, take a Narcan training course, and have Narcan in your home. We had no idea what fentanyl was until it killed our son. We had no idea with a few emojis and a couple keywords that it could be so readily available to them on Snapchat and other social media apps. Some people think that what happened to Devin, Natalia, and Tyler can't happen to them. I was naively that parent at one point in time. I never imagined this would be something we'd ever go through, but we are, and it can happen to you. And lastly, for the kids in our town, you know a lot more than what us adults do. You see a lot more than what we do. We ask that if you see your friends struggling with substance use disorders or mental health, whatever it is, reach out, help them, get them help. If you're being peer pressured into trying something or it's not prescribed to you, do not touch it because it is not worth risking your life. You can never be replaced. And in closing, again, I thank all of our legislators, Mayor Mary, Jane, Dale, Riley with the Confluence. And I thank you for coming.
Thank you, Bridget. Next, from our community is Michaela LaCourciere. Michaela is a 2020 graduate of Hastings High School, and she'd like to say a few words about how overdoses and fentanyl poisonings have impacted her and the young people around her. Michaela?
This is so scary. Oh, God. Hi, I'm Michaela. Many of you are probably wondering how I got here, as in how am I able to stand in front of you today and give you a speech. Me entering the situation happened a couple days after Devin passed. I had wrote a letter to the Noring family saying how much Devin meant to me and how much I'll miss him. I signed it Michaela with a heart. I didn't put my last name on it because I wanted nothing in return and for them just to know how Devin impacted my life. Well, my plan fell through because one night I got a text from a friend saying Devin's parents are looking for you. And I was like, what? How do you know that they're looking for me? For a little backstory, we all know Devin drove a Lincoln MKZ. Well, I picked him up once in my black Lincoln Zephyr, and we drove around, and literally a couple days later, he got the same car as me. But anyways, they said they were looking for Michaela, who drove a Lincoln Zephyr, and wrote Devin's family a letter. I reached out to them, and with help of many friends, I got the courage to meet with them. Of course, I dragged my best friend Bella along. And the rest of that basically brought us up to this point. As we all know, today is not just about Devin. It's about Devin, Talia, Tyler, and so many before them. And what I think so many people believe in this community about overdose is a big misconception. They're not junkies on the side of the street dying of overdoses, they're babies. 3 people who will forever be 19. 3 people who had their entire lives in front of them and could have done great things. They were not bad people, they were just around bad people in bad situations. Whether that was knowingly or not, that should not qualify someone for a justifiable death sentence. I want to change the circumstances I was surrounded with. I was angry. I've picked my friends up off the floor after they have tried to kill themselves. I've sat with people as they cried over their dead friends, and I was also one of those people who needed to be picked up and sat with. That's not a normal thing for a community to deal with, let alone me and my teenage friends having to deal with. Realizing how uncommon the amount of friends I had and people I knew who I'd buried, talking to classmates I have in Minneapolis, and how none of them, ages from 19 to 40, had to bury as many people as I have. Bridget and I talk on a regular basis, and we are venting to each other, and we decided to message the mayor and chief about how ridiculous this was and how it needed to change. I want to change things in the school system especially. Schools need to take responsibility and talk about these topics rather than just sweeping them under the rug. We need trauma-informed education on addiction, overdoses, drugs, fentanyl, and mental health. There needs to be at least one qualified adult who is able to make students feel safe talking about these topics without fearing punishment or worse, being ignored. Because when I was in high school, there wasn't a person who I felt comfortable talking to about this. Most importantly, I want people to know how to tell if someone is having an overdose or how to help those who are struggling with addiction or suicidal thoughts. We'd rather help them plan rehabilitation than plan their funeral. I have 2 outfits that I had since gotten rid of. It was a black dress and a blue jumpsuit. I called them my funeral outfits. I got rid of them because I told myself I was never going to need them again. I was not burying any more friends, and I'm not talking to any more grieving families. If you agree you don't want to take out your funeral outfit of your closet anymore, I'd encourage all of you to intervene or report if you see someone selling pills, because at this point it's not snitching, you could be saving someone's life.
Wow. Thank you, Michaela. Also this evening, I've asked Chief Brian Shafer of the Hastings Police Department to tell us what we're looking at right here in Hastings, and to also tell each of you what you can do to help. Chief Shafer.
Well, I can tell you as a police chief, this isn't the place that I want to be standing, but I do like being here and the fact that we have so much cooperation and a community that's tight and wants to work together to help solve this problem. So thank you for that. And quite frankly, it angers me. We had a number of conversations with Bridget as the death of her son was unveiled, and I have to think, shout out to my staff. I know the investigator, Paul Young, is here. He worked very closely with the Noring family and worked his tail off to try and get and hold the persons accountable for contributing to his death. So you're going to hear a lot about accountability tonight, and I hope that message carries to the county attorney's office with some recent changes that they've made regarding drug prosecutions. And I would hope that all of you would make that known to that office. But as Mary said, I'm Chief Shafer. I've been the police chief here for just coming up on 8 years. And I can tell you that in that time period that we have seen nothing but the drug problem growing, particularly in the opioid area. We're not alone, as you've heard. This is a nationwide problem, and I'm not trying to say that well, because it's a nationwide problem, it's okay in Hastings. It's not. And my staff and I don't tolerate it. But you are now hearing about the magnitude of this problem. And COVID put this thing in high gear as well. That has not helped the opioid addiction. And as a small community, it seems to be magnified. When somebody dies in our community, it impacts all of us because we are so close and we are a tight-knit community and we work together. So it does seem awful, and we all do feel the pain. But nonetheless, your police department and your emergency responders respond to calls every single day. And I wish I could say people were calling us because they wanted to congratulate us on a great job and things were going great in their household, but that's not the case. The calls that we go on from day to day involve, as you've heard, many underlying factors, Most of these calls involve mental health, substance abuse with alcohol, alcohol and drugs combined. So opioids, it's just one part of the larger substance abuse problem in our country over the last 4 or 5 years that has really taken hold. In fact, in 2017 alone, there was a 59% increase in opioid deaths involving fentanyl compared to 45% increase a 45% increase over 2010. And I don't have the numbers between 2017 and now, but I'm going to say that that has grown significantly as well. Make no mistake, as you've heard, fentanyl and other opioids are here in Hastings. Our police officers, EMTs, and firefighters work every day, and we respond to dozens of overdoses and poisonings every year. On record right now, we've had nearly or over 100 overdose calls year 2020 to date. We've had at least a dozen of those cases were repeat addresses and people. So are there people out there that need our help? Yes. Are there people we should be talking to and giving direction? Yes. I am proud to say that when we heard and started seeing opioid abuse on the forefront 5 or 6 years ago, our department started to carry Narcan. And for those of you that don't know what Narcan is, it's an over-the-counter opioid antagonist, basically. It's a little nasal device that all we do is we unwrap this, we put this in the nostril, and we give it a squeeze. It's basically a vapor. And this we have used over 30 times in the last few years, which means we've saved a lot of lives. Most of the life-saving awards that we give in our police department every year have to do with saving lives, the life-saving award. I have promised Bridget and others that we will continue to work tirelessly to identify and bring justice to those who are selling these deadly drugs in our community. A lot of people have given us information, and I'm going to continue to encourage folks to share information. As you heard, some of the kids here, you know who these individuals are, and you have seen some of the communications, and we ask that you come forward and help us in taking care of and bringing these folks to justice. We know who you are. We will get you, and we will hold you accountable. And that is the promise you have from the Hastings Police Department. Now, that's what we do and what we will continue to do. But now, as you've heard, how can you help? I wear a couple of hats. I was on the board of directors with the United Way when I first started with Hastings Police Department, and we brought the Helping Kids Succeed program to Hastings, and that has grown exponentially in that time period. And that is the reason and why we're able to be here tonight. So what can you do? We are asking people to call 911 in an emergency, including an overdose. Seconds count, so please call. Minnesota has a Good Samaritan Law, and that means that if you call 911 and you are provided immunity from arrests or charges or prosecution for drug possession or paraphernalia when individuals are experiencing or witnessing an overdose and summon emergency services. So if you are one of those people that are witnessing an overdose, as was told by Bridget and what happened to Devin, you are in most cases, under the Good Samaritan Law, you will not be prosecuted and charged. This is about saving lives, folks. This isn't about going to jail. We have an anonymous tip line. Use our Tip 411 system to make a confidential report. Text the word Hastings and your tip to 847411. This is not monitored 24 hours. It's great to pass information on to us, but again, if it's an emergency, please call 911. The United Way has now come up with a 24/7 helpline, and you can access that by dialing 211. You can also contact the Hastings United Way for other resources. There are other things we can do on the law enforcement side of things, but I want to encourage all of you to look at the demand for drugs, both legal and illegal. We need to be asking the question, why are our young people taking to these substances? Why do they want to get high? What pain are they trying to escape in their lives? What are the underliers? Ask yourself that. Every time I see somebody that is struggling, I always wonder, what are the underliers? And how can we provide that help and get to the bottom of the issue? For the last 7 years, United Way of Hastings has been talking and sharing a model, as I said, helping kids succeed, with a basic premise of building webs of support. We know that having a strong, healthy web of support made up of 5 or more trusted, caring adults regularly present in our children's, teens, and young adults' lives ensure their success, or more ensure their success. The Search Institute data in Minneapolis consistently shows that the closer a young person comes to having those 5 adults in their lives, the less likely they're to use drugs, to engage in risky behaviors, and more likely they are to do better in school and become successful adults. United Way has brought along free copies of their Helping Kids Succeed booklet right here. And there are about, what I believe, 900 different, 900 ideas on helping identify and develop strong, healthy webs of support. Many of our students in the 8th to 12th grades have been receiving the Helping Kids Succeed presentation, and as with some of our mentors from the United Way. So as adults, it's up to each of us to provide consistent, loving support to our young people, along with boundaries and high expectations. We need to help them learn to use the gifts and talents they were born with. I thank all of you for being here and wanting to learn more. The Hastings Police Department is here and continues to be here to help you in any way we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Shafer. As most of you know, Hastings is the county seat for Dakota County. From a county perspective, we have Captain Brian Hermerding from Dakota County Sheriff's Office here. Captain Hermerding is also the commander of the Dakota County Drug Task Force, the largest in the state. I didn't know that. So Captain Hermerding, can you say a few words?
Thank you. It's good to be here. My name's Brian. I'm a captain with the Dakota County Sheriff's Office. I'm also the commander of the Drug Task Force. I've dedicated the last 8 years of my life to undercover narcotics. And you know, when I was trying to think about what to say before coming up here, I was trying to count. You know, I've kind of had the unfortunate task of being at or investigating almost all of assisting with the investigation of a lot of the overdoses that happened in the city, and I think I can rattle off 10 that I have been to here in the last 8 years. I stopped counting at 10. And there's not a lot that I can say that really hasn't already been said. That, you know, Bridget said it better than I could. That parents, make sure that you are talking with your kids about this. I'm tired of, in all honesty, I'm tired of going to these calls and seeing this kind of thing. So if you can talk to your kids, be open about it. We're seeing a lot of stuff on Snapchat, like Bridget said, and Signal and WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, Messenger. I feel like every search warrant we're doing, we're doing a search warrant on somebody's phone, on some app, and that's difficult to do. So watch what they're talking about with their friends. Watch who they're talking to. We're seeing a lot of fake. I have a flyer up here with an example. We're seeing a lot of fake pills coming up from down south. And most of the narcotics and the pills that we're seizing right now are fake. Fake Xanax bars, fake M-boxes, the oxycodones. And they are, if they're not laced with it, they've come in contact with fentanyl, and we're just seeing it's terrorizing these young kids. So like Bridget said, I don't think I can say it any better than she can. But from the Dakota County Drug Task Force aspect, we stand with you. We will do our darndest every day to make sure that we bring those responsible for these deaths to justice. We have 13 agents that work tirelessly to make sure that the people that are selling these drugs are brought to justice and put in jail and prison. And we're not going to stop. Please call us. If you have tips on people, anything, see something, say something. We hear that a lot, but just make sure that if you see something or if your kid's involved or you think your kid's involved, give us a call. My guys and gals will not turn you away. We're going to ask lots of questions, but you're not going to be turned away no matter how minute the information is that you have. So I humbly request that you call either the task force or Hastings PD 911. These guys are trained to take down this information and pass it along. And we'll get them. Eventually we'll get them. So thank you.
Thank you, Captain. So I was going to reiterate some of the call 911, 211, United Way, 24/7 helpline. But for all of you, these magnets that we were lucky to have Alina Regina Hospital sponsor, we're making them available to you tonight. Put them up on your refrigerator. 911 if it's an emergency. 411 if you see something. And there's some other materials on here. Of course, we'll have all of this on our website, unitedwayofhastings.org. So again, as we wrap up, we have Representative Angie Craig, Minnesota Representative Tony Juergens, and congressional candidate Tyler Kistner would like to say a few words. Representative Craig.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege to represent the 2nd District of Minnesota, but tonight I have to tell you that my heart is with Bridget and your loss. I come here as your representative, but I also come here as, first and foremost and always, the mother of 4 sons who range in age from 18 years old to 23 years old. Bridget, as I think about your loss, my commitment tonight for Devin and Tyler and Natalia is to elevate your voice, to give you the Hastings platform to support you and the local Hastings Police Department, to support the Dakota County Sheriff's Department, but also to elevate your voice in Washington and around this country so that you can keep fighting for the next life for Devin. And I'm just going to leave you here with this final story. You know, this scourge of overdose, of addiction, of mental health, there's lots of fancy things that I could tell you about Congress and how we appropriate money and we send money to our local police departments to make sure that they have the resources to fight these things. But I also want to share with you that this epidemic has touched my own family. My son, who's 23 years old, was adopted when he was 4 months old. And when he was 7, his birth mother died of an opioid overdose. This is something that touches every single one of our families, and it is going to require every single one of our families to defeat it. So, Bridget, thank you for sharing your story and allowing me to elevate it across the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Juergens.
Thank you, Mary. It's good to see all the people here tonight, especially all the young people. I want to thank Bridget and the other parents for being here to share their story. And first and foremost, I want you all to know that you have my deepest condolences for your loss. As a dad and a grandpa, I can't even imagine what you've gone through. As we've all heard, with fentanyl, it's not an overdose, it's poisoning, and one pill can kill. If you notice over here, there's a cooler of water. I saw some people grab a bottle. I encourage the rest of you to help yourself to the water. But what if I told you that one of those bottles had poison? The rest were okay, but one has poison, and if you drink it, you'll die. Would you still go over there and grab a bottle of water? Of course not. That's what the young people are dealing with fentanyl. I will do what I can at the state level. There's nothing that any one person can do. It's going to take all of us working together, and it's going to take all of you. Brothers, sisters, cousins, other family members, friends that know the loss to help spread the word. Contact the sheriff or Chief Shafer and other police officers. Talk to your parents, talk to your schools. It's going to take all of us. Thanks again for letting me speak, and thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you. And also congressional candidate Tyler Kistner.
Ladies and gentlemen, oh, thank you. Let's be honest, Bridget wanted me to come up here and say a few words. All those who know Bridget, you never say no. So I'm going to be standing up here and saying a few words. But first and foremost, I want to give honor where honor is due, and that's to Bridget, United Way, the police officers, and everyone who is continuing to bring awareness and fight for this issue. So let's give them the honor they deserve tonight. Married my high school sweetheart, have two adorable little children, 4.5-year-old little girl, 10-month-old boy who just started taking his first steps last week. And when Bridget was in my office about a month ago, for those of you who see me cry, I'm a Marine veteran. We don't cry, I sweat from my eyes, so just think of that when you see it. When Bridget was sitting there across from me in my office about a month ago with her husband Tom, telling me this story of a day she never wants to remember, all I could think about were my kids and the environment they're going to be growing up in. And regardless if I'm elected or not, this is something I will continue to fight for, because this issue is a crisis. And it's not just a crisis here in Hastings. It's not just a crisis here in Minnesota, but this is a national issue. When you had United Way standing up here saying 93,000 deaths from what we're talking about today, you already know that's one too many. And so as you hear everyone standing up here saying such poetic words and kind of giving you a little bit of inspiration, it's all for nothing if you walk home and do nothing, because it's going to continue. It's still going to be out on our streets, still going to be around the state. So as you listen to us, as you heard everyone give their remarks, remember it is on each and every one of us. I am just one person. One person is not going to solve this crisis. It's going to take a movement. Bridget is helping start that movement. United Way is helping start that. The law enforcement is doing everything they can to support it. But it's on each and every one of you to take this home, to spread the word, to bring awareness. And not only just bring awareness, actually take action to do something to get this off our streets. Because the action we need is to make sure we stop this drug at the southern border so that the cartels don't continue to push the fentanyl or the opioids up. It's also helping give the police the resources they need to fight this and to get the criminals off the street as well as the drugs. But then it's also those who are being affected, making sure they have the resources they need to get the help they need. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to close with this. Let's let today's tragedy not be passed on to the families of tomorrow. So God bless all of you. You have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Took some of the words right out of my mouth, actually. We also have Senator Carla Begum here this evening, so thank you for attending. As was said, we all need to work together on this. As was said, 93,000 Americans lost their lives last year for overdosing, for fentanyl poisonings. When you think of 93,000, it's just a number, right? But Devin isn't a number. Devin was a vibrant 19-year-old. He wore the Hastings football jersey. In a week or so, all the Raiders are going to be piling over there on Todd Field. I used to sit in the stands and watch our sons. He was not a number. He graduated from Hastings High School. He matters, and so do all the others. And I firmly believe that, you know, Hastings is a great community, good community. It could be great. But we could wrap our arms around this. Have to work together and make it a priority. So in closing, thank you to all of the speakers that came this evening. Much appreciated. Thank you, everyone that is here listening. We thank the Confluence that will be momentarily lighting up the cupolas across the street. Check on our Facebook page, our website, and see how you can get involved. Thank you, everyone. So as it gets darker, the purple will light up more. So I'm told they are on. Thank you. Everyone, please talk to the person next to you. Figure out what you're going to do when you walk away tonight. Come on up, get some magnets, get some Helping Kids Succeed handbooks. Again, thank you. One more piece of information. The I-35 bridge will be lit up tomorrow in purple. And I believe the governor has also proclaimed International Overdose Awareness Day tomorrow.